All right, guys. So, House of Ashur, episode 3 and 4 review. So, Ashur checks Chorus about Achilia. Episode 3 starts with Ashur getting on Chorus's ass for almost killing Achilia, and Chorus defends himself, saying she's wild, unstable, and dangerous. And he starts talking about worth. He even brings up Creticus. Ashur doesn't care, like at all. To him, Achilia is now the foundation of everything that he's building. So when Chorus keeps talking about worth, Ashur flips it on him and basically says, cool, go prove yours. That's why Chorus gets sent to the pits. Halara tells Ashur about Achilia's scar. Halara lets Ashur know about the scar Achilia carries. This is a big moment because now Ashur realizes she's not failing because she's weak. She's holding on to something from her past. It reminded me a lot of Betiadus learning about the cloth Spartacus kept. Private pain becomes leverage. Chorus goes to the pits. So Chorus goes to the pits on business. He's there to speak with Anubis about grain. Before that even happens, Phytes presses him for money. And this doesn't feel like a real debt. It feels like a shakedown. Chorus never explains why he's there. Then Opiter approaches him. And this is where things get very interesting. Chorus straight up tells Opiter he's there to speak with Anubis about grain, whereas he withheld this information from Phytes, telling him that he was just there on things that, he couldn't really speak about. So Opiter immediately tells him that Anubis does not have any grain, as they had spoke just that same day. That's when Opiter seizes the moment and invites Chorus to his villa for wine. Opiter makes his move. At Opiter's villa, the conversation turns serious. Opiter floats the idea of Chorus becoming his doctor. This doesn't feel planned by Ashur at all. It feels like something that only happens because Chorus was sent into a messy, uncontrolled space. So, back at the Ludus, Ashur breaks Achilia down. While Chorus is gone and he is speaking with Opiter, Ashur keeps pressing Achilia physically and mentally. Tensions continue to rise between Halara and Messia, which are two of Ashur's close servants. And as that drama's brewing in the background, we still have Ashur continuing to press Achilia, basically, trying to get to the truth of why she's failing and what's really going on in her head. Ashur tells her that the past does not matter. The only thing that matters is the present and the promise of tomorrow. This is a form of motivation, but also manipulation, because at the core, he's only telling her these things not because he cares about her, but because he cares about how she performs for him. So we're back at Opiter's Ludus, and Chorus asks for support. Chorus later asks Opiter for support to support Ashur. Opiter is disgusted by the idea of vouching for a Syrian ex-slave. Chorus corrects him immediately. Ashur didn't train those gladiators. He did. That's an important distinction. Chorus is separating himself from Ashur's identity. He is a free man after all. After Opiter and Chorus wrap up their business, there is the ambush. Before anything can settle, Chorus is ambushed by Phytes and some assassins while leaving Opiter's Ludus. He fights them off and he badly injures Phytes. This is the real payoff of the episode, and it's a reminder that even basic errands have become dangerous because Ashur's rise has stirred up chaos pretty much all around him. Phytes ends up being killed by Kasucha. Kasucha kills Phytes not out of rage, but more so cleanup. Loose ends don't survive long in Spartacus. But this is also a very interesting piece because it lets us know that for some reason she seems to be pulling the strings of Proculus's men, getting the men of other people to do her dirty work. And then it also brings up the question, why does she want Chorus killed so badly? Is this really just some petty dispute between her and Ashur? Is it really just because he is a slave who has risen beyond his station and she wants to put him back in his place? It seems way more personal than that, and I'm kind of eager to see where that goes. Achilia earns the mark. Achilia is given the mark of the Brotherhood. Ashur makes it clear that she doesn't need the gladiators' respect, only his, and the men hate it, but she gains the status while not being accepted. Chorus returns injured, and Opiter is confirmed. Chorus returns to the Ludus wounded and confirms business with Opiter. At this point, it's kind of clear Grain wasn't the original reason he went to the pits. Opiter was the real consequence. That was the real plan. And we know that because Ashur actually asks Chorus, like, okay, so how did things go with Opiter? Was he not suspicious that you just so happened to be at the pits that he, frequents? He wasn't suspicious, was he? Everything went cool. And Chorus is basically like, no, he wasn't suspicious. Everything went fine. And, so that's kind of where we learned, okay, so Grain with Anubis wasn't the plan. Because I was confused, like, wait, we're going down here for Grain? When did this become an issue? When did Grain become an issue? So, yeah. And just to wrap it all up, guys, episode 3 is really about proven worth. Achilia has to earn legitimacy in the arena. Chorus has to prove himself outside of it. And Ashur believes his approval alone is enough to build power, even if no one else agrees. All right, guys, so now we can jump into episode 4. All right. There's so much happening in these episodes. I can't even really cover it all. You really just got to watch these episodes. If you're watching these reviews kind of hoping that the show is good, just watch it, man, because there's so much going on, so many moving pieces, but it's all coming together actually quite well. But anyway, so episode 4 opens with Achilia training against Tarkhan, Orato, and Ephesius all at once. And this isn't random, of course. This is intentional. Ashur is very clearly preparing her for a specific purpose, to defeat the brothers Ferox and aid in him embarrassing Proculus and Kasucha, and present her as an exotic, dominant gladiatorial offering. She's not just being trained to win fights, she's being shaped into a statement, So next, Halara and Messia inform Ashur that Crassus's arrival is approaching. Ashur admits they're not ready. They don't have a position in the games yet. And without that, the greeting with Crassus would be meaningless. And the reason Ashur needs position in the games is because, if Crassus gets there and Ashur doesn't have any money coming in, he hasn't really built anything for himself, why do I need you? Like, what do I have you around for if I can't even, visit you and utilize you? If I need coin, if I need anything from you, you're not going to have it. What do I need you for? Think about in Game of Thrones when Jaime Lannister confronts, what's his name? The old man who was responsible for the Red Wedding. I forget his name. He confronts him and he says, if every time we give you a castle and you lose it, what do we need you for? Ashur feels that pressure. He doesn't want to feel useless because he knows if he's not performing and if he isn't of any use to Crassus, eventually Crassus will obviously discard of him. Also, Gabinius, Ashur mentions that Gabinius might be swayed. He can be swayed, but Ashur also recognizes that his wife, Kasucha, she's the real obstacle. He openly wonders what could possibly sway her, and that's when we're taken to a pretty steamy little scene here. We're taken to Opiter's Ludus, where he and Kasucha are consulting, I guess you could say. She's receiving oral pleasure from one of his men, which very clearly shows how influence and persuasion work in this world. Opiter presses her for support for Ashur, driven partly by politics and partly by his desire to please Chorus, whom he still hopes will one day work for him as Doctore. Kasucha informs him that Chorus was badly injured, and Opiter's immediate concern is whether he is still alive or not. So we then return to Chorus, whose injuries turn out to be minor. The man, he's a beast. Chorus is a monster. And in conversation with Ashur, we finally get real clarity on Ashur's endgame. He wants Crassus's favor so that he can push for the rebuilding of the arena that was destroyed by Spartacus and his rebels in vengeance. So, fighting for a few hundred spectators, that's cool. But tens of thousands in the arena, That's how you really, cement your name in Rome, especially as a Lanista. Ashur knows, sorry about that, guys. Ashur knows that if he can get God damn it. Ashur knows that if he can get the arena rebuilt and he can get his men to perform in the arena, the Colosseum, that can really propel him way quicker, because now he's no longer fighting in front of a couple hundred spectators. His men are no longer fighting in front of a couple hundred. They're fighting in front of 40, 50,000 people. So Opater later visits Ashur's ludus to check on Chorus almost immediately. That's how we know Opater really cares about Chorus. We just don't know their history. We just don't know the history yet. We saw them gazing at each other when Ashur confronted Kasucha and a couple of other Roman elites in the streets in episode 1 to gain position in the arena and in the games. We saw them looking at each other, and it kind of hinted that they might got something going on, but we just haven't seen it. They definitely have a past. We just have not been exposed to that. But anyway, Opater visits Ashur's ludus to check on Chorus, and he threatens to take his leave after finding Chorus to be okay, but Ashur reassures him and openly invites him to bathe with Chorus, making it very clear that he knows about their relationship. And Opater doesn't deny it or seem ashamed in any way, shape, or form. Chorus is a powerful motivator for him, clearly, representing business, pleasure, and possibly even love. Opater presses for answers in the baths about who attacked Chorus. Chorus reveals it was Phides and his band of assassins, men known to have dealings with Proculus. Opater then reveals that Phides was found dead, his throat slit. Chorus knows that he did not deal that killing blow. The scene ends with Opater and Chorus sharing a quiet, intimate moment in the bath, blending personal connection with political tension. Later, Ashur walks the streets, accompanied by only Halara and a servant, shopping for delicacies like oysters and preparations for Crassus's eventual arrival. While there, he encounters Proculus, hosting mock matches with wooden swords. Ashur steps forward and challenges him, not here in the streets, but intended for the arena. The challenge is accepted, but Ashur is also met with pure disdain. And they literally pelt Ashur with food and tomatoes. They mocked him and humiliated him, sent him back to his ludus with his pride in pieces. It was, as much as I like Ashur, I do like Ashur, I still accept the fact that, sometimes he does deserve his comeuppance. Back home, Ashur erupts. He threatens his gladiators with the mines and death if they fail him. Achilia, meanwhile, receives quiet words of encouragement from Calidus. Chorus reports success with Opater, and Ashur tells him to stay close at his side in case future altercations arise. Training resumes, and Tarchon's aggression finally costs him. Achilia defeats Tarchon, Arato, and Ephesius together for the first time. Instead of earning respect, it only deepens Tarchon's rage, especially when he realizes his own father, Calidus, favors Achilia. And he doesn't actually favor Achilia. This is more so a move intended to temper his son's overconfidence. Finally, Kasucha takes her daughter out into the city. She's been a recluse since her husband was killed by Spartacus. Since Kasucha's daughter's husband was killed by Spartacus. All she's pretty much been doing is been sitting at home. So this moment really matters. While in the market, a band of killers attacks Kasucha and her daughter and their companions, killing one of her acquaintances. Ashur and Chorus end up intervening and they save them. And this is a moment that changes everything because it complicates Kasucha's hatred for Ashur and it deepens the connection between Ashur and Kasucha's daughter. Also, the combat here, I just want to say, vicious. The fight choreography in this series, it is improved a lot. His strikes feel very heavy and brutal. Ashur uses his signature step back maneuver that we've seen before. I'm pretty sure that when Ashur fought Glaber's Roman soldiers, after he had kind of displeased Glaber, he did perform a bit of a step back. That's kind of his little signature move, and I'm glad that we're seeing this again, where combatants in the series, they all kind of got their own little style. Nothing ever gets too bland because everyone has their own fighting style, whether it's using a different weapon or whether they're just more agile or just a tank or they just use certain moves. I really love that because it differentiates the characters beyond behavior, beyond temperament, beyond plot goals. It differentiates them in terms of how they fight. Nobody fights the same, and it makes every confrontation feel almost personal and much more deliberate. And overall, episodes 3 and 4, I thoroughly enjoyed them. I thought that they were really good. God damn it, I was not displeased in any way, shape, or form. I was excited. I was on the edge of my seat. I was rewinding to, catch okay, what they say there. Hold on, I think I missed this. I've been in tune, man, and I know that people have their doubts, but just check the series out. Just check it out. Give it a shot for yourself. Don't listen to everything that you hear online. Give Stephen the Knight a chance. Have faith in the man. He's a great writer, great producer, and his team, they're great. They're passionate. Nick Terabay, everyone on scene is incredible. They're all incredible. Even I'm surprised. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't have doubts. I had some doubts, but I am surprised and I am very pleased. And I'm even sitting here now rewatching the episodes because I want these reviews to be a little bit more detailed and not so sporadic. But yeah, guys, let me know if you watched episodes 3 and 4, if you enjoyed them, and I'll see you next time.